All right. Hello and welcome. Let me just make sure that this is now working properly. Okay. All right. It is now working. Okay. Hey, everyone. Happy Thursday. So happy to see everybody. If this is your first time coming on live, welcome. If this is something that you do every Thursday night, we always love seeing you. So thank you so much for coming in. Say hello and, let us know if you are new to this or if this is something you've been thinking about for a long time, meaning healing from toxic relationships and really reclaiming your life. One of the things that we focus on with helping clients is helping them to break the trauma bonds. That's kind of the first step in our journey with clients is, breaking that trauma bond. Once they've broken it, recreating and rebuilding their lives so they can make their next chapter the best chapter. And then after that, if they're ready, after that, then they can start dating. So we kind of have these steps in between, but breaking the trauma bond is definitely in those early beginning steps of someone in their healing process. So tonight, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the trauma bond and how to tell the difference between love and a trauma bond. So the goal for today is really to make sure that we understand the difference between the two. We want to make sure which ones are the trauma bonds and why they're so hard to break versus what love feels like. And then really empower you to really begin healing and build healthier relationships. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Is to be able to notice when we are getting stuck in the same types of patterns and then be able to create healthier relationships. So I want to first just kind of say right away, I want to commend you on the fact that you are here, because it is not easy to admit when things are going like crap for us. It's not easy to admit that something is wrong, that maybe the choices that we've made have not been the best ones for us. And to just say, hey, I don't know what to do. So if you are here, it means you're ready to get clarity and really take back control of your emotional well-being. And that's super powerful. And I really want to honor you for showing up. So give yourself just a little, put your hands on your heart and just give yourself a little thanks for the fact that you showed up here tonight, because I really give you a lot of credit. And I also would say, make sure that you are asking questions and participating. One of the things that we always ask for when you come onto these lives is to make sure that you have a pad and paper. You'll see me when I work with clients, I always have a pad and a writing utensil. Same thing when you show up to these lives, make sure you are prepared to get a lot of information and to actually have some action steps to walk away with after this live. So here is something that I'd like you to kind of just answer this right now and put it in the comments. In one word, how does your current relationship make you feel most of the time? So you don't have to write this in your notebook yet, but you can write it down right in the comments so that I can see what you have written down. And all I'm looking for is to find out, what is it that your life looks like right now? So go ahead and share that with me. Again, in one word, how does your current relationship make you feel most of the time? And I'll give you a second to write it down. And I know there's a little bit of a lag, so feel free to write down your comments. And I have to look in a few different places, so bear with me as I look around. So the first one was, how does your relationship make you feel most of the time? So I see somebody commented lonely. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry. Anybody else? What does their relationship make them feel like? What does your relationship make you feel like? Now, if you're writing it down and I don't see you, I apologize. But, lonely, stressed, overwhelmed, frustrated, all of those different things could be big things that you are feeling while you're in this relationship. I don't see anybody else. All right. So the one word that you feel like in your relationship most of the time, and if it's something that you haven't thought about before, you're having a hard time figuring it out, go with whatever your first instinct is. A lot of times we try to overthink things and overcomplicate things. That initial feeling of lonely, isolated, misunderstood, not understood, any of those things that you might be feeling, angry, whatever those feelings are, they are normal, they're okay. But to kind of reconnect to them, because sometimes when we are dealing with these overwhelming emotions, it's hard to put words into them all the time. All right. So what is a trauma bond? Trauma bond is an emotional connection that forms in a toxic relationship, which is fueled by cycles of affection and then mistreatment. It keeps you going to someone that isn't good for you. It keeps you tied to someone that isn't good for you. And the reason why trauma bonds are so difficult to deal with is because they cause something that feels the same as addiction. They actually make you feel addicted. And we're going to talk about that as we go. And this is why it's so important to get a professional to help you through the withdrawals from the addiction, because our brains will tell us all sorts of lies. Our brains will tell us all of the reasons why we should go back and check on that person one more time. It'll go back and lie to us so that we are not thinking clearly. And again, we work with very smart people, but there are things that we do that are definitely not healthy for us. And we do it because we are actually addicted to the relationship. Real love should feel secure and empowering. Trauma bonding feels addictive and anxiety inducing. So if you're in a relationship and you're constantly questioning, like here's another way of looking at this. What I always like to simplify things. I was a teacher for 18 years. I always like to make things sound, super simple. Think about how you feel when you're with someone. If you don't feel good with them, it's potentially a toxic relationship. Okay. If you're feeling like you are trying over and over again to be overly not you, like you're working really hard to make them see you, to make them interested in you. There's arguing, and then it feels better when you get back together, but that kind of goes back and forth, and you just have this overall feeling of anxiety and overwhelm. Chances are pretty good that it is trauma bonding. If you've broken up with them, gone back with them, broken up with them, gone back with them, pretty good chance it's trauma bonding. And so a lot of us have misinterpreted that for love. We thought that the reason why we had to keep going back is because we were meant to be together. We have all these other signs that come up for us that tells us incorrectly that we need to be with this person, even though it's causing us stress and anxiety. Question for you. Have you ever confused the intensity of a relationship for love? So intensity isn't always a sign of healthy connection. So in the comments, write down, have you ever confused the intensity of a relationship for love? All right, let me see here where I am. Let's see, I don't see anyone. I know there's a lag, so I can't always see your stuff right away. So again, the question is, have you ever confused intensity with love? And feel free to write your comments in the comments. All right. Just trying to keep my eye. I have a few different things open, so just trying to keep my eyes out. Okay, so here's something I want you to write down. Actually, take out your writing utensil and your paper, and I want you to write this down. The first thing that I want you to write down is a moment when you felt loved and secure in a relationship. Give yourself 5 or 10 seconds and write down a moment when you have felt loved and secure in a relationship. Some of you might write never. Some of you might write when I was a little kid. Some of you might write it was, when I was in high school or a teenager or, whatever. Or it might just be a moment, even if it was an unhealthy relationship where you felt loved. So maybe it was just a few minutes. Maybe it was just one time. But write down something, the first thing that comes to mind, a moment where you felt loved and secure in a relationship. And then the second question is a moment when you felt anxious or unsure, but stayed anyway. So again, the second one is a moment when you felt anxious or unsure, but stayed anyway. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can always come back. You can pause. You can always write more. Some of these might even be good journal activities later on if you'd like to as well. But one of the things I want you to think about is that secure attachment, that feeling calmness, that feeling safe, that feeling loved, that feeling understood. All those things would be more of an example of what love feels like. Again, a calmness. That's what I want you to think about when we come to healthy relationships. We feel like when you have to fight for it and there's all this drama and stuff like that, we feel like, again, movies, Hollywood tells us that's what love is. That is not a healthy love. It tends to be the beginnings of something toxic. When we are feeling calmness and secure, that is a healthy relationship. Now, if we're feeling really anxious, unsure, we're trying to overly research, we're trying to figure things out. We feel like we've got to figure out why they're the way they are, and we've got to change ourselves to make them want us, and all that kind of stuff. All of that is all that mental space that's being taken up is trauma bonding. That's the addiction. And because our brain is so hoping for that secure moment to come back, that good feeling to come back, we become addicted because the bad stuff makes us want the good stuff. And then when the bad stuff happens, we just want more of that good stuff. This is actually why one of the reasons why, I was kind of like use this example, but when someone pledges a fraternity or sorority, they always make it really, really hard to get in. And the reason why is because after they get in, then they're going to get all these wonderful things that are going to come up. And for many of us that have been in these toxic relationships, marriage, just a long-term relationship, whatever it is, but we're hoping that we go through all this bad stuff and we're going to get a good prize at the end. It's the same kind of thing. And so it draws us in more. It pulls us more into that toxicity because we're hoping that we have that good stuff that we've been promised and we saw the possibility for. And again, it's that giving a little bit and then taking it all away. That kind of stuff really leaves us feeling super anxious. So side-by-side comparison, like let's look at the sign of love versus trauma bonding. So if you look at love is where there's a mutual respect. People are open to listening to each other. It's okay to have differences of opinions. We respect each other for who we are without trying to fix or change anybody. We have healthy boundaries for ourselves. And the person that we are with isn't constantly trying to break through or break free from those boundaries. There's consistency there. If they say they're going to call, they call. If they're going to keep showing up, they're going to keep being there, keep being supportive. You don't have to wonder, is this how they're going to be today? Because they're always showing up as someone different. That would be an example of what a healthy love would be like. Trauma bond is where there's emotional highs and then really lows. So we go that highs and lows, which again makes that so addicting. We have that fear of leaving. Who am I going to be? What am I going to be? What are people going to think of me if I leave? So we have this extreme fear of leaving because of abandonment, because of not feeling good enough, because of being worried that we're never going to be okay. All of those things are the fear of leaving. And then we rationalize harmful behavior. So, as women, we tend to be really good at being super understanding and saying, like, we heard the stories. We heard them tell us about how when they were kids, they weren't treated well, or they were never felt loved, or they never felt heard. So we rationalize all these things. We make excuses. We're super understanding, in fact, overly understanding of the toxic things that they have done to us. And we put our needs and wants on the side, and we make theirs a priority. And of course, when we do that, we allow that trauma bond to keep getting stronger. So here is, like I said, harmful, rationalizing harmful behavior. So which of these resonates for you? What I want you to think about is which of these signs resonates most with your experience. So you can share anonymously, or you can share, write down, like if you don't want to write it down in the chat or in the, the comments, you can always write it down for yourself. But have you seen more of those, like that love of mutual respect, healthy boundaries, consistency? Or do you feel like you've seen more of that trauma bond where there's the emotional highs and lows, fears of leaving, rationalizing harmful behavior? Which of that actually resonates more with you? And feel free to write your response in the comments. Which one resonates more for you? And as you're writing down your comments, most of the people that come to us will say that they have experienced that trauma bonding. That's what they're looking for help in healing from and breaking free from, because it is so, it pulls you in. It is so addictive. Now, here is the misconception when we talk about relationships. Intensity doesn't equal love. Real love is steady and supportive. It doesn't leave you doubting your worth or fearing abandonment. Now, Healthy love is that way. Now, I know everybody wants to become experts on different connection styles, different attachment styles. Now, if you are securely attached, that would be a healthy relationship. If you are feeling anxiously attached, then is this something that, and I'll tell you that when you are with a healthy person and you have done your own work, you should automatically feel that healthy attachment. If you're feeling anxious, then you need to ask yourself, why am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling anxious purely because I've not experienced a healthy relationship myself? Is it something I need to work on? Or is it because they're telling me they're going to call me on, at 5 o'clock tonight and they don't call? Or I'm waiting to see if they're going to text me back. Or are they going to follow through this time and stop doing the drug of choice or stop doing whatever it is that they're doing? So, we really have to look at what is going on for us and look at realizing that we do not have to be stuck in this cycle, and we can look at more that healthy attachment style and create that for ourselves. No matter how long we've experienced something unhealthy, it is possible for us to create that for ourselves. We can't change somebody else. We have to be able to let that person go. However, we can create healthier attachment styles for ourselves. So why are they so hard to break? And I've alluded to this, but I really want to make sure I go into there. So the cycle of affection and mistreatment creates a powerful dopamine rush. So it's actually a brain chemical, which is, again, why it's that addiction, because we're getting that rush of dopamine. And that's what our brain becomes hooked on. So it makes it feel like you can't walk away. Everything in your body is going to give you an excuse not to walk away from this relationship, even though it's hurting you, because you're looking for that rush. Your brain is going to tell you just one more phone call, just try a little bit more. Maybe if you fix this about you, or you didn't do this or that, maybe you were put here on this earth to be with them. All of those things are what we tell ourselves when we are trauma bonded. They are normal. So if you're feeling them, I get it. And you're not alone. Other people feel that way too. It becomes really, and it's what we think about. So when you are trauma bonded and you're trying not to have any contact, because we always talk about having no contact. So you go no contact and you're like, why do I feel like crap? And why am I so obsessively thinking about them? Well, the reason why we're so obsessively thinking about them is because it's just like a drug that we're trying to get more of. So how do I get more of that drug? How do I get more of that feel good stuff? Because if I work hard enough, maybe I'll get some more of their attention and then I'll feel good again. Then you get that little fix and then things go bad again and we start the cycle all over again. So here are some of the emotional barriers. Maybe we have a fear of being alone. If I'm too old to be single, I don't want to start over. My kids are out of the house. I don't want to be the person who goes through a divorce. So we have that emotional barrier, the fear of being alone, or the hope that the person will change. The person that I started this relationship with was a wonderful, amazing person. I want that person back. So if I wait just a little while longer, maybe I will get them back. So we keep hoping that they're going to change. And then the other thing that a lot of us do is we have that self-blame. I'm the problem. The reason why this is bad is because I'm not giving enough. I'm not supportive enough. They're telling me that I'm wrong, so therefore I am. So we tell ourselves all sorts of things that's going to actually keep us stuck as well. So we have to look at that and realize that quite possibly is just trauma bonding. It's not that we need to change for a partner, which we shouldn't have to. We should be able to be supported and loved by someone who understands us and supports us, and vice versa, without trying to change or fix the other person. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to put everything down. If you're writing, if you're watching this as a replay, you can keep writing and pause, but here would be the moment to do that. You're watching live right now. What I want you to do is put everything down and I want you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and breathe out through your mouth. Keep your eyes closed, breathe in through your nose, breathe in all that positive energy, good stuff, hold it, hold it, hold it. Breathe out through your mouth really hard. All of that negative energy that you're holding on to, allow yourself to just breathe and get comfortable, melt a little bit in the chair, wherever you're laying, sitting, whatever it is, however you're watching or listening to this. And I want you to whatever comes to mind, I want you to close your eyes and imagine what life would feel like if this relationship or any relationship didn't hold you back. Because is this the first relationship that has held you back? What would you do differently? What would you do differently if this relationship and other relationships didn't hold you back? How would life be different? What would you be doing differently? How would you be acting differently? What types of friends would you have? What types of people would you have around you? What type of job would you have? How would you feel every morning when you woke up? And I want you to hold on to that. Keep your eyes closed. Put your hands on your heart and hold on to that feeling of what life would be like if you allowed yourself to live in that moment of that thought. What would life be like if you did not have relationships that held you back? And if instead of those relationships that held you back, they actually lifted you up and supported you. They weren't there to fix or change you or put you down. And that's literally what your relationships were about. Keep your hands on your chest. Hold it. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And breathe out all of that negativity that's telling you it's not possible for you. You can't do it. You're too old. It's too late for you. Whatever those negative thoughts are, let them all out. Now open your eyes. I want you to hold that. Hold that thought. Hold that feeling of the possibility. And if any of you are saying, but I couldn't even picture that in my mind, I get it. I get it too. Because when you're in it, it's so hard to imagine what life would feel like out of it. It feels impossible. And we can say, you know what, Stephanie, F you. I can't do that. Maybe other people can, but I can't. I get it. That's the part that's keeping you stuck. But the rest of us are no different than you. It is possible for us to break that trauma bond and create relationships that are healthy and supportive if we know how to do it and we know what we need. We just have to break free from this first. So, how do you break free from this? What behaviors have you justified in your partner or past relationships? Now, this could be something that you write in the comments. Could be something that you just write down in your notebook. But what behaviors have you justified in your partner? And then how does that make you feel about yourself? This is step one, and this is going to help you recognize what kind of bond you have with your partner. Is it healthy? Is it a trauma bond? Because the big thing is that you've justified these terrible things that they've done. And then how do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like crap because you've stuck around with someone who treats you like crap? Have you lost yourself? So step one is recognize the bond. What have you justified? What have you made excuses for? What have you enabled? And then how do you feel about yourself because of that? Number two, set boundaries. Create a mantra like, I'm allowed to prioritize my peace over their demands. My needs and wants are good and acceptable. It's okay for me to have needs and expectations. It's okay for me to say no, but create some healthy boundaries for yourself. Step number three, rebuild your sense of self. This is huge. Now, okay, so here's the question. What hobbies, passions, or dreams have you set aside to be in this relationship? Maybe you put off going back to school. Maybe you put off going to take that class you always wanted to take. Maybe you didn't go on that trip with a friend because you were worried about your partner being angry with you. Maybe you missed out on seeing your parents because they don't get along with your parents or your family. One of the things that's actually really interesting, in my Facebook group, somebody asked me, they said something about their relationships. And I said, how's your friend group? And we're talking about toxic relationships. I said, how's your friend group? And they said, oh, it's okay. But why what does that have to do with toxic relationships? And I said, well, everything. In fact, that's one of the pieces that we really help clients with when they're healing is recreating that friend group. And another post that I did was I was talking about how I asked a question in my private Facebook group that said, do you trust other women? And 90% of the women answered, no, they don't. So it's interesting how so many women, and of course, if you're a guy listening, that's cool too, but we do talk mostly to women, but women don't trust other women. No wonder why you don't have a tight friend group. No wonder why you're going to this partner and you keep going back. Because if all you have is that toxic partner, why wouldn't you go back to them? Because that's all you have. Because this person has destroyed everything else. They've taken away all of your hobbies, all your interests, they've taken you away from you. And now they are all you have. So you have to be able to have an identity outside of the relationship. And part of that is by hanging out with people that have similar interests as you do. What are the hobbies and passions and dreams that you have that are yours alone, that you are put here to do amazing things for, that you have put to the side because of somebody else, because you are fighting for the relationship, you are trying to make somebody else happy? Write down one thing that you will commit to this week to rediscovering you. Hobbies, passions, dreams, friendships, things that you've wanted to do. Write down one thing. Again, I don't care if it's in your notebook or in the comments, that you commit to rediscovering yourself. Because this is step 3, rebuilding yourself, your sense of self. And in our program, this is step 2. Really important to have this part. Step number 4, make sure that you are seeking out professional help. It's what I said before. This is a trauma bond, which is an addiction. Addiction is not something to play around with on your own because your brain literally lies to you. Your brain tells you all of the reasons why you need to do the thing that's actually going to hurt you. Some people, their drug of choice is drugs or alcohol. For some people, it's drugs or alcohol and a person. So for a lot of our clients, it's the person. And then the person that they have an addiction to is the person that has an actual addiction to a drug or alcohol. So those things happen. That trauma bonding happens all the time. So this is why we need to have professional help, whether it's through therapy, coaching, support groups, whatever you need. And of course, you're always, able to reach out to us because coaching programs is what we do. And you can always go to beinglovedshouldn'thurt.com/links, or you can send a text message to 631-317-4027. And again, I'll say this again, but go through those options. If we don't resonate for you, or you're not sure if we can help, we can always talk about it, or we can refer you, or find someone that works for you. But the important thing is don't do this alone. Get that support and help to break free from this trauma bond so that you can grow and build something new for yourself. Now, step 5 is practice self-compassion. So let's go back to what we did before let's just put one hand on our heart. Place your hand on your heart and remind yourself, I am worthy of love, safety, and respect. Now, none of us can hear you. I don't know where you are. If you are in your bathroom watching this from your toilet, because I don't know where you are, or you are in a room where it's not possible for you and you have to do this at another point, I want you to do this at some point later when you are in your car or whatever. But if you are home by yourself right now, you'd better do this because nobody else will know that you're doing it. Put your hand on your heart. And I want you to say out loud, I am worthy of love, safety, and respect. And say it with meaning. I am worthy of love, safety, and respect. Say it out loud and feel that feeling of what that feels like for you. And if you're like, that doesn't feel right, practice it. Make that be your affirmation. Do that every morning when you're in the mirror, when you're getting ready for work. But start practicing that self-compassion. And again, you have some other things that you need to do already for homework. Make sure you write those down if you are forgetting to write all those down. Now, I'm going to stop for a second. Are there any questions that anybody has? I have a feeling Facebook has questions and I can't see it. So anyone who's writing comments on Facebook, I cannot see them. I will go back and I will respond to them after the live. So apologies ahead of time. Things are a little bit of a lag with Facebook. Do I see any other ones? No. Okay. So if you're not seeing me respond or you're not seeing me interact for some reason, Facebook's not showing me the comments, but I have a pretty good feeling that you are. Anybody else that I don't see? All right. I don't see. Oh, hold on. Okay. No other questions. And again, you can always send me a private message and we can talk about it. Okay. So back to what our steps are. Okay. So we talked about making sure that we're practicing self-compassion. Super important. And you can do this as your, daily affirmation. I am worthy of love, safety, and respect. And do this out loud. If you can't do it right now, then make sure you do it. Got my eye on you. All right. Now moving forward. Red flags versus green flags. I promised that we would also talk about healthy relationships because great, Stephanie, you told me all about crappy relationships. Now what? How do I know if it's a healthy relationship? Maybe there's just something else going on. Okay, so what's a green flag in a relationship? Clear communication where we don't feel worried about not saying something. We literally can tell that partner anything and everything. They might not always like it, but you can literally tell them anything and everything. Being really clear. Now, does that mean we mess up sometimes or we're not clear enough? Yeah, okay, that's fine. But that's not the common practice. We have that clear communication. And there is a respect for boundaries. Because so many people come to us and they're like, well, I tried boundaries, but they keep walking all over them. So I just don't set them anymore. You never really set the boundary if they're walking all over you. So somebody who is healthy is going to respect your boundaries and you're going to feel emotionally safe around them. You're going to feel okay with bringing up the big things. You might not know that they don't like it, but you're not afraid to bring it up. You can talk about the things that are uncomfortable because you have that emotional safety in there. Green flag, that's a good thing. Red flags, they try to control you. They're manipulating you. Their emotional abilities are inconsistent. Sometimes they're doing really great. Sometimes they're not doing really great. Those are some red flags. Look at if they're trying to control and manipulate you. If they're using anything to try to control you, be very, very careful. That would be a huge red flag for me. So those are just kind of some warning signs. And I'll say this too. If you are just finished breaking a trauma bond, please don't get into another relationship. I just had this conversation with another coach today. We so often it's like, okay, I want to break this trauma bond by jumping into another relationship. That'll help me break off the relationship with the other person. Heck no, don't do that. All right, so I had a good question. So a person doesn't have ups and downs. Yes, a person does have ups and downs. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I was saying before, is that it is normal to have some ups and downs in life. However, when you are constantly trying to control, constantly trying to manipulate, it's this, where are they coming from? Again, you might be having a bad day where you're feeling stressed and your communication might not be great, but are you calling them an effing whatever? See you next Tuesday? Because that's unacceptable. That's a huge red flag. That is never okay. I don't care what kind of bad day you're having. So there's the intensity, there's the levels of it. And there is, what's going on? How often is this happening? And is there conversations that happen afterwards and where there's actually clear understanding where you feel safe and comfortable also? If you're someone, is this something that you need to work on? Do you need to work on your trying to control other people? Because some of us that are in these toxic relationships, we stay because we're trying to fix the other person, which is control, because it's not up to us to try to control somebody else. All right. Somebody wrote, right. My wife talks about manipulation, so we don't have that problem. She actually uses other people. All right. So as example, so it's easier to notice. All right. You'll have to give me. So tell me what you mean by they use other people to manipulate you. So they call those the flying monkeys. If there's a flying monkey, they're trying to get other people to come on her side and make you feel bad. Those are people that report back to her and tell her whatever you're doing. Not healthy, super toxic. All right, empowering takeaway. Here's what I want you to keep in mind. You deserve a relationship that lifts you up. No one keeps you feeling small or unsure. Healing is possible and you're strong enough to create the love you deserve. So if you're questioning whether or not this is trauma bonding, whether or not this is a healthy relationship, chances are pretty good it's a toxic relationship. If you're questioning and researching and you're here, chances are pretty good that things are not going well in that relationship because you wouldn't be here if things were going great. I'm not looking to come on trainings about healing from toxic relationships because I feel good and happy. But if you are someone that is not happy and you don't feel safe and you don't feel heard and you feel alone and you feel isolated and all these other negative things, then it's probably not the healthiest of relationships. And it doesn't even have to finger point. Sometimes it's because we're not communicating. Sometimes it's because we're not sharing our wants and needs. Sometimes it's therapy and we can work through if both people want to work things out. But of course, when we're talking about trauma bonding, that is not healthy. That is something that is toxic, something we want to get away from. So again, you deserve a relationship that lifts you up, not one that keeps you feeling small, that keeps you from doing all the wonderful, beautiful things that you were put here to do. If you feel like you can't go take that class, go back to school, start that business, do that thing you've always wanted to do because they've told you that you weren't good enough or it's not possible for you, then that's probably not someone who is supporting you. You have to be aware of the people that are there that are lifting you up, because if not, they're like those crabs in the bucket trying to pull you back. You have to be the one who creates the love that you deserve by surrounding yourself with people that are supportive and also want you to do wonderful, amazing things. All right. So here's what I like you to do. Here's your first step towards healing. All right. So I want you to take one step. So now you have a few homework assignments, making sure that you do your affirmations, telling you that you're strong, you're powerful, you are worthy, making sure you do that. And then what's that one action step that you're going to be taking for yourself? Choose one small action from today, whether it's setting a boundary, journaling, writing reflections, reaching out for support, and commit to it this week. Say, by the time I see another one of Stephanie's trainings by next Thursday, I will commit to making this change for myself. Think of one thing. Now, if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed and everything is hard for you right now, I totally get it. Make it a smaller thing. Sometimes with clients, like I just had this conversation with someone today, is shooting for that 96 ounces of water. If you're someone who doesn't drink 96 ounces of water, maybe you shoot for 32 because maybe you don't drink any water at all. So maybe you start with a smaller amount and then you work up from there. You set those achievable goals. I will journal 3 times this week. One of my clients recently, they were waking up and having weird dreams. Their assignment was journal your dreams. That was their homework. So what is one thing, and why don't you write it down in the comments? What is one action step that you are promising here by writing it down in the comments, what you are going to commit to this week? Is it going to be setting a boundary, journaling, reflections, reaching out for support? Write it down in the comments so that we can all see it. And now it makes it more real because now you've put it in writing. And of course, if you're needing more support because you're like, I want to do these things, I just don't know where to start, I feel really totally overwhelmed, I get that. So that's when you would go send me a message. Let's talk. Let's get a free consultation. Again, we can talk. There's different levels of working with us, whether it's, you could go to beingloveshouldn't-hurt.com/links. There's some resources there. There's also the possibility of setting up an appointment with us, or you can send a text message if you don't want to do the links page. You can also go and send a text message to 631-317-4027, or simply just send me a private message. Whatever's easiest for you. We don't want to make this difficult. Just send the message and let's get moving in the right direction. Here's some final thoughts, and we'll talk about this a little bit. Breaking free from a trauma bond isn't easy, but every step you take is a step toward freedom, peace, and the love you truly deserve. Breaking off something with someone who does not support you, who doesn't love you, as much as you're worried about hurting them, making them feel bad, you're not sure of yourself. Am I making the wrong decision? Am I really the one who's wrong? If you're going through all of that, it is not healthy. And how long are you going to live there? Are you going to put what's later, however time you have left on this planet, focusing on this other person instead of focusing on you, because you do yourself and the rest of the world a disservice by not doing the wonderful, beautiful things that you were put here to do? You've already started to make yourself a priority by showing up here today. Every time you show up, every time you do that thing to take care of you, that's self-care. Saying no, creating boundaries, learning about yourself, learning about what your wants and needs are, standing up for yourself, all of that is part of self-care. And so showing up to trainings is a good first start. And then the next thing is taking action to create something different. But taking that initial action of showing up, that's something to be proud of. So I'm really happy that you were able to be here today. And I'm proud of you for taking that step. And again, admitting that things aren't great. Things aren't what I thought they were going to be for my life. I've been saying this a lot in this past week. Could any of us have imagined that this is where we would be right now in our lives? Good or bad, whatever it is? Probably not. So that means that in 5 years from now, who knows where we'll be? We can't imagine it. But we know how to be in exactly the same place. And that's by doing exactly what we've been doing. And if that's not something that makes you happy and excited, then let's start doing something to change that, because you deserve an amazing, beautiful, wonderful life. So on that note, if there are no other questions, it was always a great time spending time with you. Like I said, for those of you on Facebook, I'm going to go back and see, because I'm sure there are comments and it just wasn't showing them to me. So I apologize if I didn't answer any questions that you have. But, you know, we're always here to support you. We are always here to help. This is our passion. We love watching and helping and empowering people to heal and create their best lives, because I know that every person that steps into their best version of themselves helps other people. And if you want to change the world and make it a better place, you got to do it one person at a time. So thank you, everybody, again, for tuning in. We appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up for yourself. And never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. See you next episode. Bye, everybody.